Yeah.
I remember him sitting in the back of the room, and he would just come in and sit
He's
back
talking
there.
about our superintendent,
We would go over every
when we were there, would
evaluation.
come in and
if he didn't agree
evaluate
with
you
what I had
personally.
wrote down, he would tell
He
me,
would stay 2 hours in
and
your
if I
classroom
disagreed
with
him,
you.
I would
Wait,
tell
who's
him.
this guy?
A superintendent,
And he was one teacher that he
Dr.
upset
Mahan.
when he went in,
Yeah.
And she was a good teacher.
but he was fair. It was a little intimidating, but he was always fair and kind.
Conversation,
Gotcha.
he said, we need to get rid of that teacher. I said, she's a good teacher. He said, now that's your opinion, and my opinion is not the same as yours.
I did move your
So,
light just a hair when he could get past. I hope that it didn't mess it up.
Be responsible for.
No,
I
it's
said,
for
that's
real.
right.
I'll move
I
right
will
here.
be.
I like you too, better.
Okay.
Real age.
I would know her if I told you.
That's all right. You don't have to tell me.
But that's the way we operated, and every Monday morning.
You want him to be still?
He'd call me.
Okay.
We only about,
We'll wait. We'll give him. Let him finish his story here.
You want to finish your story?
That's okay.
Yeah. All right. You guys good? All right. And I'm going to ask you some of the same questions I asked Mr. Marshall, but
Okay.
Terry,
Yes?
prior to April 3rd, did you have any idea there was going to be some bad weather?
Oh, I was always conscious of weather. I enjoyed weather. I wasn't frightened so much by weather until after we experienced it, how strong it can be.
So when was the first clue that you had that that April 3rd was going to end up being a rough day?
It was when Vaughn, Mr. Marshall, walked through the hallways, telling each one of us quietly, showing no emotion. He always kept the same attitude. You know, he never ever caused any stress. So when he told us to get to our safety spot, that there had been sighted a tornado nearby, and do it now. Do it from the third grade room back. We were told to stay away from the double doors up at the end. And it's a good thing because they did open and close and open and close and open and close once we did receive the wind.
I'm going to reposition this slightly. Okay. So I want to take you back real quick. Do you remember the conditions that day, what it felt like outside?
Oh yes, it was very warm, unusually warm. It was very humid. We didn't have air conditioning at that time. We just had windows to regulate our classrooms. So we would be regulating them, so we were aware that it was hot and steamy. But absolutely no idea that we would have a tornado.
Good. Okay, and then go to the moments when Mr. Marshall gave you guys the news.
Okay, he told us to go to our safety place. All we had was the hallways. Mrs. Brockman was my co-worker for third grade. And we tried not to frighten the children. We just told them that there was a tornado nearby. But that's all we knew, but we were going to go out in the hall with our big math book and get in our position, which the children did. Now we did have to check head count, make sure we didn't have any little ones that had gone to the restroom or had gone to the cafeteria for something. We had to make sure we had our head count. But then once we got in position, then it was just wait time. But the thing that I recollect about the kids was how compliant they were. There was no panic. There was no crying, no hysteria. They just did what they were told. And at the same time, I recall that I had no panic of my twins being at the other end of the hall with the first grade teachers, simply because I trusted them the same as I hope they trusted me with their children.
Okay, so he gives you the news. We usher the kids into the hall. They take their positions. What do you hear?
And then we
What are
wait.
you seeing?
Well, you first hear the wind. And as the wind gets stronger, you begin to tell the children, this is the wind coming. You'll be safe under your book. You were constantly encouraging the kids, but at the same time, you didn't want to be dishonest with them. It was scary when the first one hit because it was so loud and the doors were flapping and there was nothing we could do but stay in that position. And it probably wasn't a long time that we were in that position, but it was enough that they were getting uncomfortable and the teachers were getting uncomfortable, and then it got quiet. But we didn't immediately get up because we had not been given the all clear by Mr. Marshall. We stayed in our position. And it's probably a good thing because the wind came back. And so we told them the wind is back. We never said two. We didn't know anything about two tails or that kind of thing until years later, I guess. And so we went through that loud noise again, and I can't tell whether one was any louder than the other. To me, it was just, let's get this over with. So then it was quiet.
What did it sound like, though, the wind?
It sounded like a train. There's no two ways about it. It sounds like a train. It is very loud. And I'm sure that most of the children couldn't hear the teachers trying to encourage them simply because, well, for one thing, they were probably frightened, and at that point you don't hear much when you're frightened. But I want to give those children credit. I wish I could recall every one of their names because they weren't hurt, because everyone listened and stayed the way they were supposed to.
Excellent. Okay, so when did you know it was over?
Well, then it was quiet for a long while, and we still didn't have the all clear yet, but we teachers did tell our little ones, take the book off your head and hold it a minute, just lean up on your knees, and I recall saying to some of my little ones, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. This is over. Take a deep breath. I'm sure some were holding their breath for a while. None of us that I recall had experienced anything like that. But then we got the all clear. I don't know whether it was through a wave, I don't think the loudspeakers or anything was working. But we did get the all clear, so we all stood up where we were. But we still never left our positions. Not too long after that, we had Winnings Packing Company people running in. We had parents running in. So the only time that you saw one of your children become emotional is when they saw their mommy or they saw their daddy. But until that point, they were just little heroes.
Describe the reaction of some of the parents frantically looking for their
They might tap you on the shoulder and say, is anybody hurt? They were concerned for everyone. This is a small community. This community has always been very close-knit. But they were concerned, with their own. And may I take my child? May I take my child? And I said, well, always by rules, you must check out at the office, because I won't remember who took who because of after what we've been through. And so they complied to sign out their students.
And you had an office left.
We still had a small spot, yes, where they could sign out, and they could.
Yeah. So you talked about how everybody came to help. What do you remember in the hours that followed the tornado about those helpers?
First, they were concerned about the safety of the children more than anything else. And they didn't mind looking at all of the kids on both sides. And then after they saw that we were okay, then I don't know where they all went. I know that there was a lot of debris out our windows as the desks were blown out of our windows. And I also lost my roof, and it landed on my station wagon. But they weren't saying anything. They didn't know what to do with the kids. And we just had to wait to be told. And I don't recall going back in that classroom, opening that door. I believe we must have, because there was glass everywhere in there, we must have just sent them home as they were, as I think back, because I didn't go in my classroom until inspectors and people did, because you didn't know how safe it was.
What did you think? What did you feel when you saw all the damage?
How lucky we were, how God spared all of us and all of our children. And what a nice feeling it was to feel safe in that building, and also personally to feel safe in that building with my other teachers, the other faculty, taking care of mine, which I had the twins in the first and Joseph in the fourth. But every teacher took care of theirs like it was their child.
Do you remember when you were reunited with your two kids?
Yes. When the twins finally came up the hall, once we were turning our kids loose, or for the bus routes, or for the parents, the twins came up the hall. I don't recall any tears or crying. What I recall is a stunned look, just kind of maybe like a little traumatized, just not sure what happened, but they still felt safe in our school, and that was the thing that meant a lot to the teachers.
Okay. Anything else you want to share from that day, Terry?
Yes, as far as the community is concerned, we have an old schoolhouse that's right above our fire department, our old fire department. We are now going to get a new fire department. That was opened immediately and preparing for serving 3 meals a day for, I know, weeks. And I had an opportunity to be the bacon fryer at 6 a.m. every morning. And we had food from Winnings. Their bacon was good. They would bring it until the Red Cross was able to set up there, as I recall, and then help the people. But we fed the community 3 meals a day. Well, not just the ones that lost their homes, but all the people that showed up with trucks and chainsaws to clear and to clean up and support our small area.
Excellent. Excellent. Vaughn, anything else I need to ask your wife?
No, she's covered about everything.
She did a great job, too. All right, Terry, well, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. It was I want everyone to know how much we appreciated